Now, if you just go back to, let's say, about 20 years back, we all started, somewhere as a junior level, like a junior level. Maybe initially, let's say, sort of managership was thumped upon you. It was given to you, and you, of course, may have earned it also. But let's say you become the manager, where you were managing things, managing people, managing processes, and things of that kind. And then you move away from routine things of managing things, people, and processes. You start inspiring people, and that's where your leadership journey starts. So whenever it started, how far back you can go into your memory lane and recollect those. From those days, or from that particular day till today, I'm sure you must have adopted different leadership styles.
Yes.
Right. So if you can just speak about different leadership styles that helped you to become what you have become.
When we talk about leadership styles, there are a lot of talks. Where you can go into the Google and see what all they talk about leadership traits, leadership styles, and all this. You will get all those. There's a huge amount of material available, which is a good read. But ultimately, whatever you read, whatever you go through, a lot depends on how you implement what you understood to a situation. So I would say, as a leader, the biggest thing, the biggest attribute that a leader should have is a situational fluency, situational adaptability, and the situational decision making capacity. So when you are in a certain situation, I can quote many examples for that. Whether I should adopt X style of leadership or Y style of leadership or Z style of leadership, it all depends on the situation which you're in. And you cannot go back to the theoretical books and say, should I adopt this kind of a leadership now, or should I do this? It has to be on the spot, instantaneous, and based on the situation.
Right.
As an example, suppose one of my leaders who is heading sales for us, his father got COVID, and we were in a situation where we were on the brink of closing a huge order. Now, what shall I do with that situation? Right. So the leadership trait or the leadership style that I adopt is different than the way I would have adopted if something was not moving and the same guy was involved. So you still need to be giving him that comfort that we are with you, with your family, when you're going through this. At the same time, how shall we take care of this particular COVID patient, which is a big order? So when you give that kind of a comfort, the outcome that you get is different, because it was this particular situation you adopted a different style.
So it's more about adaptability, it's more about flexibility,
Absolutely.
what is demanded by the situation. But still, I want to dig deeper and slightly ask you a different question.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm sure you must have adopted different things depending on the situation. You must have demonstrated a lot of flexibility also demanded by the situation. But what is it, one or two things that has not changed in your leadership style, no matter what?
Yeah. Uh, when we talk about leadership and about human nature in general, what we generally talk is, if a human being can change his nature or the way he works by 5%, 5%. Okay, if I'm working in a specific way, and if I change that by 5%, it is considered to be a significant change, right? So as a human being, that's the human psyche. If you change 5%, it is considered to be a huge change in a person's way of work. So if I consider myself, I have not reached the 5% stage yet.
Oh, okay.
But I'm still hovering around 4 to 4.2. So there are certain aspects which I need to change as a human being. I still not been able to change that.
Okay.
There are situations where you need to be much more aggressive, and that's one place I still think myself I'm lacking, wherein you hold the stick and say this has to be done this way. I do that, but in a different way. The way this has been, I've been discussing this with my peers also and with my supervisor also about this particular aspect, because I believe that people are, if they are in a certain role, they're educated and they will understand. But sometimes you'll have to build that stick, and that 0.5% is what I'm talking about. Is something I still need to change. That has not changed. From when you've seen me to what I'm today, even that has not changed. Still, it is coming there, but I'm not saying I want to completely change as a human being. That will be the biggest failure you will have in your life. If you want to have I'm X today, I want to become X minus tomorrow, then you will fail at that moment. You can't.
Right.
So it has to be a very small change. And if you have that 5% change, as I said, then you will see yourself in a different way, different loop, different leader. And that leader shift which you're talking about is that 5% shift.
Okay, great. So, we have talked about successful leaders or leaders who cannot manage the success, manage, certain other things which are expected. In my opinion, leadership is tested the most when it comes to taking the hard decisions. And I'm sure you have taken some hard decisions. I have heard about some of them. While taking those hard decisions, what are things that you kept in mind?
Yes, it's the most difficult situation when you have to take hard decisions.
For example, laying off a person.
Yeah, I think that's the most hard decision that you can take, laying off people. But there are other hard decisions also which may not really impact a person, but those are decisions which will impact either the financial aspect of it or the business image aspect of it. Right?
Right.
There are multiple aspects. So one is the human aspect is the biggest thing when you take certain decisions. That's definitely the most difficult aspect in anybody's career when you have to take those decisions. And I've taken those. However, there are other decisions which you take, day in and day out, which may have a financial implication, which may have the implication of your organization's image in the market. You have to be very subtle and careful about what level am I doing this. At certain times, you also have to take those decisions because you can't have a thorn in your foot all along and still live with it limping. You have to take the decision to pull it out.
Right.
Yes, you will have blood flowing out, you will have pain at that moment in time, but it gives you the capacity to walk 10 miles further in a faster space. That particular day you lose, that particular wound you carry. At the same time, you have to do that. So these are the tough decisions. I have lost customers because I had to take the decision that it's a financial huge impact for me. I said I will not be able to do that. Now, did it impact me financially? The answer is yes. Did I lose my customer? The answer is yes. At that moment, I felt that impact. But if I look back 2 years back, I see that decision which I took was correct. Sometimes you also take decisions which are, as I said, success and failures are part of the things. But the number of good decisions you take, if they outweigh your bad decisions, you still are a good leader. But you will sometimes take a bad decision also. You're not God. You also take bad decisions, and you should know that I have taken that bad decision. And the biggest ability of a leader should be that he listens to the feedback he gets. Listening is the biggest attribute that a leader should have.
Right, I totally agree. Since this talk is about moving from leadership to leadership, and also in connection to my previous question, which was about taking hard, tough decisions or tough calls. Leadership is also tested in the time of flux, in the time of uncertainty.
Absolutely.
All of us have recently faced one of the major uncertainty of the century, I would say. What are your thoughts on that? Managing or dealing with uncertainty.
Yeah, there are a lot of situations which do come in, which are printed in paper, which are available on the net. There's a lot of situations which leaders faced and how they came out of it. You can't just copy what they've done. It's like telling you it's more influential, more inspiring of how people did come out of those stories. There are many of those. I can quote a lot. The first expedition to Antarctica, what all they did. All this comes in your leadership lessons of how a leader went through those situations. COVID was one such thing which was unexpected, sudden, and highly impactful. It had three different factors which it came through. One was it was unexpected. We were unaware that something.
The scale was very high.
And the scale was huge, and the impact was you never knew what was going to happen. And for me as a leader, the biggest impact was first the safety of my people. How shall I ensure that my people are safe? Because we live in business wherein people are spread across the country, and the impact was spreading all across. How shall I ensure that they are safe, their families are safe? That was the first concern that I have. The second is my customers. What would happen to my customers if I start pulling the plug among everybody? What would be that impact? And third, my business continuity. Will I be able to do business? What shall I do? And if I can't do business, then eventually it has repercussion. It has a spiraling effect on the downward side. So these are the three different aspects which challenged me as an individual. You know, there are certain thoughts that you have as a leader, but I would say in these situations, as I talked about earlier, the leadership shift or the leadership styles that you said, in this case, in this kind of in a situation, one is you take the final decision, but I would still say you need to be more involving. Like-minded individuals should get together, look at people's views, what they talk about, because
Throw
there are
the
a lot
ideas.
of throw the ideas, have a brainstorming. We did that, so that we said what should be our priorities, what should we prioritize first, what next, how shall we continue business, what shall we do, the do's, the don'ts. Once you have those different ideas being thrown in, ultimately you need to take a decision. You cannot throw the decision to everybody, let's take A, B, and C. Hear them out. Listen to all those. In situations like COVID, what happened, I think involving kind of leadership is important, where you drive that, the whole situation of what you have to do, get those ideas, pass it through a sieve, and then take out the best of those, and then you set the stage of how you're going to do business, and then you start governing how that's taking place eventually. And I'm proud to say that in spite of these 6 months of COVID which we went through, our business took an upswing by 5%, and we did fantastic on the last month of our business by nearly 45 crores of things which we shipped out, which was ours is a very labor intensive work. And you can imagine how we did not have a single COVID patient except myself, who was not in the factory. So you can see, even when I was impacted with COVID in the hospital, struggling for 7 days, the business went on. And that's what you need to set as a leader. Even though you are somewhere else, the things are happening, and you know what's happening.
So that sort of autonomy you have to build.
You have to build. You can subjugate, you can delegate. A lot of delegations need to happen, but at least you need to be aware of what's happening, and you should be in control of the situation. So again, this was one particular kind of situation. There will be situations wherein all cards fell flat. That's how they call it, right? You should also be in a situation saying that forget anything, I can still be able to make it happen. You need to be, I would say, prepared yourself, or be ready to yourself to roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty. There will be certain aspects, which brings out. And when you're talking about inspiration, this is one of the biggest way of inspiration, when you stand side by side to your guys, and then put your hands together, 100 hands will come on its own. I have seen it myself.
Great. Thanks, JK. It was really pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much, and
I
think it's a great thing. I think it's the first time I heard about leadership shift. It's a very good idiom, I would say.
Yeah.
And yes, people do it without being aware.
Yeah.
When we call enlightenment, is nothing but being aware.
Yeah.
When you do certain things being aware, the outcome is significantly different than when you do things being unaware.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.